Bucknutters, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, April 18th, 2016. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm joined by the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Bill, big recruiting weekend for the Buckeyes with the spring game, over 100,000 fans, which is amazing to me. Ohio State setting the all-time record, breaking its own record of 99,000 and change last year. Let's start with Najee Harris, number one player in the country, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, running back, Antioch, California, committed to Alabama. He visited Ohio State. Talk about his visit and whether you think there's a strong possibility that he might flip from Alabama.
Well, I think it would be premature to talk about how likely he is to flip from Alabama to Ohio State or anywhere else. I think the bottom line is the visit went extremely well. He's enjoyed it here in Columbus. He was impressed with the Ohio State spring game. I think the Ohio State coaches and the staff, Mark Antoni, took a great approach to recruiting him while he was here. So all that went very well. But he's a kid that's going to take more visits. In fact, his coach told me that he thinks he'll visit a number of schools and will probably take some official visits. I think the positive thing is that Ohio State very well positioned themselves to potentially get one of those official visits. So I think the best way to put it is Ohio State has kept themselves in the game, certainly with Najee Harris. They positioned themselves to move forward with him. And we'll just have to see where it all works out from there. He is most likely going to visit Alabama in the summer. That I'm sure that'll work out well for him. And but we just have to wait and see what happens. The key to me, Dave, is that they get him back on campus for another visit. Most likely it would be an official visit. And if they get him back on campus, then they're in the game.
And there were three prospects that I think were supposed to be at the spring game that were not: Chase Young, Trevon Grimes, and Jeffrey Okudah. What's the story with those three guys?
Well, two of the three were fully expected. I've been saying for leading into the spring game that, and for actually quite some time with Trevon Grimes, very unlikely that he would make it to the spring game. And that proved to be the case. He did not make it to the spring game. He is going to get back on campus at some point. It's just a matter of when. I think it'll probably be in the summertime. But we kind of knew. We had a very strong feeling that he wasn't going to be at the spring game. With Jeffrey Okudah, that one came a little bit later. As of a day or two before the spring game, I was saying that he almost certainly is not going to be at the game, and that in fact happened. So that one wasn't as big a surprise. Chase Young, that came out of the blue a little bit. A couple of days before the spring game that he would be at Ohio State's spring game. When he didn't show up, I guess I wasn't shocked because it came so late. All of a sudden he was going to be at the spring game. Then lo and behold, at the end, he goes to Maryland, and that's just a closer venue for him, really. And when you look at these guys, you've got to take into account how far away they are. It's not always easy to go from Florida to Ohio State, or from Texas to Ohio State, or even Maryland to Ohio State. Proximity is important with these spring games, and there's a lot going on in the spring. Kids play other sports and do other things and all that. So I don't think it's a huge deal. That you would love to have had them if you're Ohio State staff on campus, but the fact is, it's just, in a lot of cases, it's hard to get to Ohio State from a long distance away, or any other college from a long distance away. It makes it more difficult.
Speaking of a young man that's a long distance away, Tate Martell, number one dual threat quarterback in the country, number 30 overall player in the country, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite. He's out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. What is the latest with Tate Martell? I know he wasn't at the spring game or anything like that. It has nothing to do with the spring game. I'm just curious, what is the latest with Tate Martell? I know he's still committed to Texas A&M. Do you think he'll end up at Ohio State if you had to guess? Do you think he'll end up at Texas A&M? Too hard to say right now. Just anything the listener needs to know about Tate Martell, Bill.
I think it's anybody's guess right now where he ends up. I think it's, as far as Texas A&M, I think it's 50-50 at best that he ends up there. I could see him staying with Texas A&M. I don't think that's out of the question by any stretch, but I certainly, like I said, I think it's 50-50. I certainly think that he could end up elsewhere. And I'm not convinced that elsewhere necessarily is Ohio State. It could be, but I'm not certainly convinced it would be. I think he's going to continue to look at schools. I think he's going to continue, at this point, to keep his commitment to A&M. And then as the process goes on, he'll make a decision. But I've talked to a number of people that I think have a pretty good idea of what's going on there. And even they just don't know what's going to happen. They think it's pretty much up in the air with Tate Martell. Again, Ohio State's there. You know, he had a great visit when he came out here to Columbus, and that has positioned Ohio State very much in the game. But I think anybody that says this is where Tate Martell is going to go for sure right now is just premature. I don't think while Tate is committed, even he knows for sure where he's going to end up ultimately. So we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
We'll find out in about 9.5 months maybe on signing day.
Hey, it's a long way.
High school teammate. Yeah, we have just a little bit till signing day. Tate Martell's high school teammate, Haskell Garrett, Ohio State commitment, number 4 defensive tackle in the country, number 75 overall player. He's 6'2", 298 pounds. I read your update on him, Bill. Tell the listeners the good news about Haskell Garrett.
Well, that really is, for Buckeye Nation, great news. As you referred to, Dave, I added in what I am hearing on Sunday evening that I'm hearing just as I've been saying and just as Haskell has told me that he's shutting down his recruitment. There was a lot of talk that he wouldn't stick with Ohio State when he first committed. I kind of steadfastly said that I think he's going to stick with Ohio State. From talking to him, from talking to his coach, and talking to others, I just got a great feeling for Buckeye Nation that he was going to stay. And, I think it's come to the point now, as I put in what I am hearing, that he is politely letting other coaches, other schools know that I am shutting down my recruitment, as he puts it. That in some cases he's even sending letters to schools, just letting them know, thanking them for recruiting him. Classy way to do it, but just saying he has found the school he wants to go to, and that school is Ohio State. Now, certainly, again, it's a long way to National Signing Day. Nothing is certain until they sign. But I think it would take something along the lines of an Urban Meyer going to the Cleveland Browns or Larry Johnson retiring or something like that to shake Haskell's confidence or Haskell's decision to be a Buckeye. And I might add, I don't think Urban Meyer is going to the Cleveland Browns. I don't think Larry Johnson is retiring. I think I just throwing something earth-shattering out that maybe could shake Haskell a little bit, and I just don't see any of those things happening. I fully expect Haskell Garrett to be an Ohio State Buckeye, and he is a huge, huge part of this recruiting class.
Bill, Urban Meyer is a winner. He's not going to be the coach of the Cleveland Browns.
That's a true shot at the Brownies.
Oh, that's my Bengal fandom coming out. The only team in the NFL I can make fun of is the Browns, although the Browns have won a playoff game more recently than the Bengals, so let's get that out there before all the Browns fans tell me that. I realize that. The Bengals are awful once the postseason arrives. I'm well aware. All right, last topic here. Danny Clark, another kid that did not come to the spring game. He was expected to be there, I believe. He's still committed to Ohio State. Tell me about Danny Clark. Why was he not at the spring game? Do you think he's going to be in this 2017 class when it's all said and done?
Well, he hasn't made a comment on that. Again, at this point, Danny Clark is an Ohio State commitment. He wants to be a Buckeye and all that. But I think it's a little, Ohio State's continuing to recruit quarterbacks. Kellen Mond was at the Ohio State spring game on Saturday, Baylor commitment. We've talked about Tate Martell. Ohio State is, continuing to recruit quarterbacks. It's a staff that does their job and does it tremendously well when it comes to recruiting. They don't leave any stone unturned. Ultimately, will Danny Clark be in this class? I think you've got to say right now that he will be in the class because he's committed and hasn't shown any signs of changing his mind. Am I 100% convinced he will be in the class at the end? No. I mean, again, Ohio State is continuing to recruit quarterbacks and as long as they are, I think there's always a chance of something else happening, and we'll have to wait and see. But, again, Kellen Mond was at that game and everything went very well, and Kellen Mond is, told me afterwards that he is going to be back at Ohio State, most likely in the summertime. So, we'll see. That's something that I think everyone, that we certainly at Bucknuts, are going to keep a close eye on what happens in the quarterback situation moving forward for Ohio State.
I know Danny, as you said, hasn't commented on it. What's your gut feeling there? Do you think him not coming down to the spring game was his way of kind of protesting all this, the Buckeyes going after Tate Martell and everybody else they're going after? I think he was under the impression he was going to be the only quarterback in the 2017 class, and they're making it clear they're going after other quarterbacks. Do you think this was his way of kind of saying, throwing up a warning sign to the Ohio State coaching staff, or just his way of kind of protesting everything that's going on?
I really would hate to put words in Danny's mouth. I just don't like to do that. It would be pure speculation. But again, as I referred to, there are other things to do right now for kids. Maybe he went somewhere else. Maybe he had something come up. Maybe, as you said, with the situation with Todd Sibley, that factored into it. I think at this point, I don't want to put any words in his mouth. I just think perhaps he was somewhere else instead.
And last thing, Todd Sibley, you mentioned him. What's your take on that? Are you okay with this? Do you feel like this goes on everywhere? Every big-time program I have a commit, they ask to take a gray shirt. Are you okay with how everything was handled with Todd Sibley?
Well, I think Todd will have to make a decision. Does he want to do that? Does he want a gray shirt? I think Ohio State, they're going to obviously they are committed to doing what is best for the Ohio State program, and they haven't pulled his scholarship offer. They told him, you still have a scholarship offer. You can still come to Ohio State. It's just that because of the situation with running backs and all, that they need it to be as a gray shirt. Now, will he accept that? I think, we'll have to wait and see. That's going to be up to Todd. But I think it's the Ohio State staff doing what they feel is best for the Ohio State program, and that's why they're there, to do what is best for the Ohio State program. And the way the numbers are working out and looking is that the best scenario they see is for Todd Sibley to gray shirt. And again, that kind of puts the ball in his court, whether he wants to do that or not, and we'll have to see what happens.
Great stuff, as always, out of the Dean of Ohio State football recruiting, Bill Kurelic. Thank you very much, Bill. Thank you to the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great day. Let's hear some Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.